right, drawing class. You should have your reference photo, this little gray kitty, in your email that I sent out to everybody. And we're going to get started on drawing him. You can draw lightly with your mechanical pencils at first, and then you're going to want your regular pencils whenever we get to the shading and stuff like that. So have those ready. You're going to need your eraser, tortillon, or blending stump. If you don't have those, you have a Q-tip, a tissue, and it could be toilet tissue or facial tissue, you know, like a Kleenex. It just can't have any, the Kleenexes can't have any lotion in them, or, you know, something along those lines. If you don't have a brush, you can just use a paintbrush like we do in class. And, or you can just use a soft foam brush, and you're just barely going to stroke that just so gently, because you don't want to push this down because it will smear your graphite. So this one, if you're going to get eraser dust off, just need to do it super, super soft. Okay, so now let's get started. If we were to take the picture of our cat and kind of fold the paper in half, I'm just going to put a little bit of a dent here. You're going to notice, see where the dent is in the face, that the cat is not perfectly centered into the picture here. But what we want to do is have a center line so that we know, you know, this eye goes on that side, that eye, this nostril, that nostril, you know, that kind of thing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sketch in our guidelines. And instead of being like right in the center of your paper, you're going to move a little bit to the left in order to draw this kitten. This is all association, you know, associate where things are on the page. And, you know, you can draw your divided lines and all that kind of stuff if you'd like we've done in class. Or we can just do this all by association, okay? So back to our picture. Halfway up the picture is this crown part of the nose. So it's not like a specific place that you would have your, you know, something of your cat. So you want that. Now this is my perforation line right here on the top of my page. Don't measure to these little black things because this little part is gone. So what you're kind of wanting to do is to make sure that these two are about the same. And we're going to give ourselves a division line there. And if you need to do that as well, just take your paper, fold it in half this way, and crease, and you're going to see that it's right on the top of the line of the curved part of the nose. This is like going into the nostril, and then these hairs come this way, and then these hairs go that way. You can, this is so close up, you can actually see the direction of the fur really, really close in there. So if you're going to draw this, you know, as a circle or something, then part of it's going to go above that line, but most of it is going to go below the line. So that just kind of helps you to see, you know, where you're going to place it on, because this piece of paper, this picture is bigger than our entire book, right? So we're going to have to kind of, you know, size it down just a little bit, or we could lose a little bit, you know, on the top or whatever. And, you know, if you want to actually do the measuring like we've done in class before. Okay. So this line right here is above the nose, you know, about a finger's width, or you can measure it with your fingers, down to here. And so that's going to be the V part in the front of the nose. It's not very deep like this. And the width of the nose, once again, you're going to measure that with your fingers. You can measure it with your, you know, how far it is with your pencil or whatever. And you just want to make sure that, you know, whatever the middle part of it is. So I'm just going to measure with my fingers, and it's going to be about that wide. And so I'm going to put the dots, and then I'm going to look and see if they're about even from our center line, which they look that. And we're going to draw in, this is the V shape that's right here. Y'all see that V shape? And then this is the center line. Let's miss that. I probably should do that in pen so y'all can see it better. I have a fine liner. So this is our center line, right? Here's the little V shaped like this. Now we're going to go around to the right and around to the left and make our cat's nose. The first thing we need to know is where this hits on that center line. So we're going to once again measure that from the top to the bottom, and that's how long his nose is going to be. And there is definitely a V shape down here at the bottom, and that is this line right here, right? And then it curves and then goes in and then curves out. So it kind of has this almost like a, what do you call those, arrowhead look kind of to it. So you're going to curve in and out to that dot that you made and then back around to the top. So it's going to come in like this. So you're going to come out. You want to make sure that these are about the same height so you can do your horizontal lines like we've talked about in class. Just reminding you about that. And then you've got your nose. Now this one is a little bit higher, but you know what? On that actual nose, it is that way. And this side is rounder for some reason than this side. So you can change that if you want, or you know, you can just make that in as part of your nose. And then of course, you know, you're going to have your the shadow. This is the whole of the nostril, and it's going to end up being black, but you know, you don't have to worry about that. From this outer part that comes up to this line, this is where that funny part of the nose with all the strange little directions of the hair are going to go, and it should come up like this. And then we're going to have the bridge of the nose, and that is like right in here, coming down and coming around that shape. So you want to make sure that these are the same distance. See how close this one is and that one is? So I'm going to open this one up a little bit more. And then I'm going to kind of just sketch in. We're just lightly sketching. I hope y'all can see this as part of the paper. Now this actually curves, curves and goes out around the nose part. It's not perfectly straight up and down. So if you want to go ahead and draw those in as curves, well, that's fine. If you were going to draw a line from the end of your nose straight up, this is going to tell you how far this eye is from the line. So if you were going to draw that straight up, then the eye is going to start right in this area. You can actually measure with your fingers how far from the skin of the nose to where the little indentation of the eye is, and you can actually measure that and then know that your eye is going to be the bottom half of the eye is here. And you're going to also measure that that finger width. So I'm going to pull that line down. Y'all remember all these little little association things. And we're going to once again measure the height of the eye. It's very large. Look at the size of these eyes compared to like the nose. It's bigger than the nose. So you want to make sure that you get that that eye big enough. So this is the round part. And up here at the top, it kind of stops, and then the roundness of the bottom goes, so it kind of like has a little bit of an angle, if you want to say that, in there. You're going to have the internal lid of the cat's the crease up above the eye, right? And then over here there is a the roundness of the eye past the skin, and we're just gonna, you know, kind of lightly put that in. I was doing a little bit darker so you could see it, but you want to just really lightly put that in, and that is this where it comes off the bottom. See this roundness right here? That's just where it's going from lots of fur to hardly any, and then boom, right into that eye. Now, his pupil is pretty much dead center of the eye, but it's closer to the top lid, right? And it is a slit. You can measure this with your fingers, guys. Don't think that you you know, don't have to do that. Mine's a little bit larger than what is in the picture, so I'm going to come and make it smaller. You know how I talk about making your changes and then erase away, because otherwise you can you'll end up going right over that same place. Now right here inside the eye there is like a rectangular shape, and then the eye goes it goes out and goes up. I mean, not the eye, the reflection in the eye. So we're going to put that up to the top. I know it looks really funny right now, right? So, but that's this, it almost straight up and down, and then this one's definitely at an angle, almost straight up and down, and then this one is definitely, you know, it really doesn't curve too much. It just barely curves. So we're going to take it out a little bit farther. And we're not going to worry so much about the part of the eye that is this skin part right now. That's going to happen in the details. So let's go ahead and jump over. You know what? While we're right here, we're going to take just like a little finger width and go straight down from the nose, and then it's going to go to the right and to the left, and it's going to curve ever so slightly. So instead of just doing straight lines, you're just going to softly curve back. So there's not much difference between the straight line and the curved line. And you're going to measure that distance, and it should stop about right there for mine. So I'm going to erase up to that stop line. And then this side, it looks like it's longer because the cat's not looking straight at you. His head is tilted just slightly. So we're going to curve. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I don't get my hand in the way. You know, this is kind of interesting doing all these videos and whatnot. Oh, wow. That is just right there. My chin is going to be very close to the bottom of the page. And the chin is an arc shape. So we're going to arc that over. It's going to go past the mouth, right? And this area of the cat looks like it's a lighter color than, say, this area of the cat. So you can see that this is lighter color than, say, this area. So if we want to draw in that shape, notice it kind of comes down and then around. So that comes right out of the nose. It comes down and then around like this. So this is so lightly, guys, because you're going to do all this like lighter color hair on top. And so you don't want to mess that up. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And it stands this far away from the face. Did I do that right? From the outside of my nail? I did. Oh, it's a little bit off. And we're going to come off the bottom of the nose here, and it curves this way, and then it goes out and then back into the arc of the bottom here, right? So we're just building up the shapes that we see. Don't forget, it's all about the shapes, right? Now, to make sure that I get this eye lined up with this eye, you can either take a ruler or anything at all that's straight. Line it up with the bottom of your page if you use a ruler, so that you know that the line is not crooked in any way. That's why I'm saying line it up with the bottom of the page. Line it up with this line that you have on the middle section. I usually just do this. Y'all have seen me do this in class so many times. I just usually go over. And then from the center line of our face, this is the center line of our face. The eye is this far over from the nose, and it should be about the same distance on both sides. So, because, very symmetrical type face. So the bottom part of this eye, and then here's the top part. I think that goes uphill just a little bit. Yeah. So this is going to be that little skin part, and then it goes down to the line, and then it goes way up to the other line, and we didn't measure sideways. So you're going to measure the distance of the eye this way, and it should come out to there. Oops. Don't want that to be too black. But you want it to be very round. And up here at the top is where the curve stops, and then it kind of does this second kind of curve. So it almost looks like a lemon kind of tilted, but it's very, very, very round. You can do the same thing with the center part of the pupil of the eye. So you're going to come to the middle of the eye, and half of it is going to be to the right, and half of it's going to be to the left, and then you look at the other side. Is this one larger than that one? You don't want them to be. You don't want one to look like an oval and one to look like an ellipse. You want them both to look like an ellipse. So you want to put that shape in evenly. And you can actually draw a line from the bottom of this one straight over, and so that you have the same shape. Then you're going to measure. Is this eye the same height as this one? It is not. Ooh, it comes way up there. So maybe I didn't have it slanted from the picture. Make your adjustment, then go back and erase any parts that you have. Now this particular highlight does not come in the black. It is just on the side of the right side of the pupil. Sorry, couldn't think of the word. Okay, so we're going to create this shape here. It kind of curves, and then curves across the bottom. That might be a little long, so we'll just put that in. And we're going to put in the crease of the eye on this side as well. It's a little bit above the eyeball, and that's this little line right here. And then this is a color in the stripe in the fur, right? It's like a, like a lot of cats have. And you can actually just lightly tell yourself where that's going to be, and just kind of lightly color that in for that particular stripe. And another interesting thing is, I don't know if y'all can see, there's a W on the top of the head up here. So you can come way up to the top of the page, and you kind of want to just make it right in the dead center. So come to this center line and go to the right and to the left, and then it kind of curves on both sides, so that these end up being about the same distance apart on both sides, and it it's going to be so fuzzy and everything from all the hair, then that doesn't really matter. At this point, we can lose a bunch of these extra lines that we don't need. You can take them out. We don't need any more of the absolute verticals or anything like that. Okay, now coming off of this eye over here, this is the crease of the eye as it comes in, and you're going to come out past the eye and create this dark stripe within the cat. So it's round and then it goes back the other way. So it's kind of a, you know, an S kind of a shape. So I'm actually going to round this out a little bit more and then curve it back that way. It's easier for me to do with the book turned than to try to do it this way for you guys to see. And then coming in, this little V shape right here, there's not one. It just slightly curves. You don't want to have any angular lines in a cat or anything really kind of organic in nature. All right, so there is a stripe here and a stripe here. So we're going to kind of come underneath, and it ends up right where this arc is here. And this one kind of comes down and then over. And then there's this little round tuft of lighter hair. And this is just mapping out the fur. We've done this before. You guys can kind of figure that out. How to map out that fur there. And this is going to be darker hair. This is going to be lighter hair. And there is definitely a darker area here coming in from the eye itself and going up into this space. That's just where the eye is deep set into it. We have the same thing. The actual outer part of the nose is going to be about right in there. And then we're going to come to the other eye, which this is the dark space. This is the dark thing. See this loop color? You don't have it on this side. Either that or it's in shadow and you just can't see it. So you can measure down how far this is and at what angle. Just make sure you keep your picture at the same angle. Measure your marks and then measure the second mark, right? So that's going to be the two parts. And then there's this little round section here. It is more oblong than what I have it. So we're going to stretch it out a little bit more. Not quite so round. And this is the bottom of the mouth. There is this dark hair here. And that pretty much comes off of this part and underneath the chin, right? And then there's another little dark area here. Underneath the chin is dark. Pretty much this whole side is dark, but this little corner over here is definitely darker than anything else. Okay, guys. Oh, my table's falling apart. This is our outline of the eye, and you can come back and do any of you want to put this little white stripe in, then you're just going to follow the same. You're going to have two parallel lines. Whoops. In order to do this little white area, and you don't see it next to this middle part of the eye. It kind of comes over and dies into that area. You do want to make sure that this is very round and not not to have any angles at all. Now the white actually goes all the way up. So I'm going to start way up here and fix that. So now that tells me this is the eyeball. This is the little white skin part here. This one is like the color of the fur. So we put this little line in right here. It's right there. So you don't really have to worry about that. But there is a little white up above the way that the light is hitting the, and we can do this with the shading part, you know, just leaving that area white. And then in the dead center right here, this part has a little white, a really bright white highlight. But this fleshy part right here is in shadow. So the light is obviously coming more from this side. So this whole part of the eyeball there is in shadow. So I want you to take all your measurements, take your book, get yourself a really good drawing of all of the parts of the cat. You can actually create this little tuft right here, and anything that you do that's going to help you to follow the patterns in the face. So that would come in right here and ends into this W. And that's this lighter block of hair. This one and these right here. So this should be more vertical. So I need to bring my W over here so that I can make this more vertical. Does that make sense? So associate, you know, oh, well, this is straighter. I can't leave it crooked. So it's definitely pretty much, you know, straight up and down. And on this side, there's one, and then there's some over here. So if you wanted to come over here and put in where you're going to have a lighter color hair block, and it comes down into the W as well. And then this whole area is lighter. So you're just trying to make yourself some little notes of where things are going to go and where things are going to be as your this round part right here past the vertical is what I did right there. So you can actually just kind of connect that area if you want, because it does come up and curve. So you have those little marks. All right, this is our outline. Okay, the hair part of this cat, I'm going to do a light wash over the whole thing, and then I'm going to blend all of that. Then we're going to do the darker hairs and come back and lift our highlights. And for those of you that are in the younger classes and stuff like that, you can pretty much just go from dark to light to dark to light with your Tertullian, and then lift off your highlights. That would be fine. If you feel like you want to just try something a little more difficult, don't get frustrated with it or anything. Then I would like to see if you could do this hair and everything within this cat. And we are going to do what's called a impression into the paper. And so as we start to do the coloring part of it and stuff like that. So I would need for you guys to find something, and you can use the mechanical pencil. Just push the lead all the way in so that none of the pencil marks on the paper. If it's making gray marks, you don't have the pen pushed all the way in. And you're going to lighten this outline line right here, just so you can barely see it, right? And this is preparation for the drawing itself, you kind of have to think about what you're going to do. Look at all of these whiskers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 on one side. Look at that. Oh, I didn't even count these two little ones up here. And up here in the area that's kind of like a eyebrow, there's a couple of, and then there's a black one. So if you want to do those as a impression, now is the time to put those in. Sorry, I have a brush right here and I'm using my hand. So what you're going to do is push the lead all the way into your mechanical pencil. If you have a stylus, that works great as well. Don't try this with a knife of any kind. You're going to scar your paper really bad. You do want to do it with something that is plastic or is soft. There has been a few times where I've taken the back end of a paintbrush and sharpened it in order to be able to score in my paintings or whatever. And I've also used those pencils in drawing. Now I'm going to turn my picture this way because it's easier for me to do this, because notice none of these go straight across, right? Well, maybe that one, but they all turn this way. And they go right off the page too, right? And right off the page, there's a couple of shorter ones here, a couple of shorter ones here, but everything else is zoom right off the page, okay? So I'm going to show you where these come out of. You see the, oh, excuse me. Hiccups. You see these little lines, these darker lines, that's just the shadow of those hairs kind of going in. You'll see it on any cat, lots of dogs, stuff like that too. So it's going to come out of this space, but not next to the nose. Look how far away they're on the outer side of the twitchy part of their face. And what you're going to do is you're going to fling, and I'm kind of pushing, okay? So I'm going to pull one up, and then I'm going to go right off the page like this. I hope you can see that these dents are happening in the page. And you want to start where these little lines are on the outer side of the cheeks and stuff like that. Then we can put a few going down, way out like this. Then you're going to turn it over and do the same thing for this side, but that would be going this way. So I'm actually just going to do it regular way. I'm going to lighten up some of these lines. Lighten this line. So the reason you lighten the lines is because you don't want to push that graphite that's already there down into the surface of this paper, and it scarred the paper a little bit. So picked up little bitty tiny pieces of the fuzz of the paper. Why is that not coming off? Okay, and I'm laying it on the side. I'm not pushing down like this really hard. I'm laying it on the side, and don't go way in close to the nose. You're on the outer side, and I'm just flinging like this. And then I'm going to go off the page, coming a little farther, down to the next line, down to the next line, until I get to right to this little mouth part. And I'm going to do a few shorter ones, and then boom, right back out. Okay? You can also come up and do those few that you see in the top part. They're in this area right here. And you're just going to fling those off. You're denting the paper. If you're not seeing a dent in the paper, then you haven't done it hard enough. I'm going to lighten these little lines from that part because it starts here, goes through that lighter part right off the page on all three of them. This one doesn't have a black one on this side, but you could always add one. This one has 3 white ones and then 1 black one. So it's up to you how you want to do those. And you have now scored the paper. We have a nice outline ready to start all the fun parts of our cat. Make sure that your eyes are the same size. Make sure that your nose is equal distance on both sides. I mean, if it's off just a hair or something, you know, it's not horrendous, but you know, if your eyes are off a little bit, then they look, you know, like they're crooked or something. So, let's go ahead and get all of the parts of our cat in, and then we're going to come back and do all the outline of our cat, excuse me. And then we're going to come back and do all of our cool shading and all this cool hair. There's a ton of it. And anywhere you see white hairs on your cat, you can actually do these little white hairs over this dark space by scratching into the surface. But, you know, most of the rest of this we're just going to do with lift-offs. So, lighten the line right there around the mouth. And notice that they kind of curve to the left on the right side, and then they curve to the right and straight down on the other side. And I think that's all the white I'm going to do for mine. If you want to do any more scratchy lines into your lighter areas, like in here or something like that, you know, feel free to do that. But we're going to start we're going to start with the next week, getting it all colored in and blended, and start lifting off our highlights and creating those really cool eyes and stuff. Look at these eyes. Aren't they amazing? All right, guys. See you next week.